So, the two-part finale to Core 3 of the 1000 Year Blood War arc is right around the corner. And thanks to Bleach's presence at Jump Festa this year, we have a brand new, tantalising idea of what to expect. Earlier this week, I made a video outlining my predictions for how I thought the final 3 episodes would play out. And so, naturally, the anime team had to come right out and set things straight. I mean, I'm joking, of course, and in fact, our predictions weren't too far off, based on the little we get to see here. So, in today's video, the last one before Christmas, I think, I wanted to take a brief look at the snippage of footage released, the episode titles, as well as the official finale synopsis to see what more we can learn. The two-part finale releasing on December 28th promises to be very exciting and absolutely looks set to close out what is possibly the best core of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime so far in a fashion true to form. Similarly to our prediction video beforehand, we won't be covering any leaked material here. If there is any, I don't actually know, but we'll just be looking at the officially released teasers. So, without further ado, let's take a deeper look at what's been shown so far regarding the Part 3 finale. Before we get started on the video, guys, of course, again, there will be massive spoilers for the rest of the 1000 Year Blood War arc to follow, as again, that's what we're discussing in today's video. And if you enjoyed the video, when you're done with it, make sure to hit the subscribe button now to help take us towards 300,000 subs. Your support is massively appreciated. Okay, so as part of the Bleach panel during Jump Festa, another series look-back video was released, this time covering episodes 25 through 38, taking us right up to the most recent episode. However, for the last 30 seconds or so of the video, the look-back instead flashes forwards, showing a few very short clips from the finale, while also revealing the titles of episodes 39 and 40 at the same time. Before we get into any of the discussion, let's do a quick breakdown of the new footage seen at the end of this look-back video. We see a brief shot of Uryū standing in front of Ichigo, Chad, and Orihime, finding themselves in a very peculiar room that we'll discuss in a moment. Noting that the cast is all here, Hashwolf steps into view. As Uryū grimaces, Hashwolf tells him that he's in luck. Fate is leaning in his favour. As he says this, a powerful aura begins to swirl around Hashwolf, the sternritter Grand Master, at last fully in view. We then get a shot of someone's mouth, which I'm assuming is Ichigo talking with Uryū, but I'm not sure. Hashwolf then tells Uryū to prove himself, as Uryū also comes fully into view as well. As we then see Uryū with his bow primed, Hashwolf declares that if Uryū claims to not be a traitor, then he needs to kill his friends right here and now. The final shot of the teaser features Hashwolf lifting his head to reveal the Almighty, a sinister grin on his face as he states that he can already foresee Uryū's answer. So, while short, this is all extremely interesting stuff, and there's even some new additions to this little sequence that are absolutely worth discussing too. First of all, the episode titles. We already knew that episode 39 was called The Visible Answer, but now we know the finale is called My Last Words, which is a great title choice. In my opinion, My Last Words works really well as the title of the finale to the core in particular, because that is the dialogue exchange Ichigo and Uryū have before they go their separate ways into the final battle. And so it's a really nice place to kind of leave things off as we enter that final stage of the anime. Hashwolf's narration in the teaser comes from his monologue in chapter 660. In the scene, Hashwolf confronts Uryū after having caught him scattering numerous mysterious chips all throughout Varvelt, and openly accuses him of treason. As the entire subplot of Hashwolf being suspicious of Uryū finally comes to a head, and he challenges Uryū to a fight, Uryū is horrified to discover Ichigo and the others have found them. This is the cliffhanger of chapter 659, and where I predicted the core would end in my recent video. Anyway, as of chapter 660, Hashwolf orders Uryū to kill Ichigo and the others, and so Uryū begins to fight Ichigo, as if hoping to deceive Hashwolf's the Almighty. So that's where the narration comes from, but the images shown in the teaser actually go a little beyond that. The shot where Hashwolf is surrounded by a whirlwind of power is from chapter 661, when he prepares to confront both Ichigo and Uryū, and I think it's the furthest point shown to us in the trailer, though there is another shot later on that we'll discuss as well. Speaking of the images, let's go through those now, as that's where the real meat of the teaser lies. The first shot shown to us features Uryū standing opposite Ichigo, Chad, and Orihime, but what's truly interesting is the room they find themselves in. Yes, they are standing in front of that same peculiar red portal that's been of interest ever since the first trailer for Part 3. We've only seen this portal once actually in the anime so far, when Hashwolf himself was standing in front of it in an earlier episode. I say portal, but in reality we don't have a clue what this thing actually is. Of course, whatever this glowing red sphere is, it isn't in the manga. So what could it be? It's a question we've asked a few times now, and I keep going back to the same point. It could be a Gate of the Sun. Now, as I mentioned the last time we discussed this portal, it is difficult because we have actually seen the Sun Gates being used now thanks to the anime, back in, I think, episode 33, and they looked nothing like this. But maybe that's because those Sun Gates were operating within the same realm. Perhaps nowhere near as much power or energy was required to move the Quincy between areas. If this is indeed the Sun Gate that's meant to travel to the world of the living, to, as Hashwolf says, facilitate the invasion into the world of the living, then maybe that's why it looks so different from the others. But why was Hashwolf just standing staring at it earlier? Again, we speculated previously that he was going to destroy it, like he tells Uryū later on, but, I mean, he clearly didn't. That being said, as we'll see in a minute, Uryū ends up on the floor beneath this room fairly soon after this scene, which is where his fight with Hashwolf actually takes place, and it's only there that Hashwolf tells him he has now destroyed the gate. So maybe, after Ichigo and the others and Uryū all fall to the floor below, we might actually see Hashwolf destroying this gigantic red portal, which might be the Sun Gate itself. I feel like that might actually work, because after Ichigo, Uryū, Orihime and Chad end up going through the floor to the room below, that's where Uryū then gives them a sun key and tells them to use the Gate of the Sun to escape back to the living world. So maybe there we'll discover that yes, this thing is that after all. We then get a quick close-up shot of Uryū's eye, which I believe is just taken from chapter 660 as he kind of buckles under Hashwolf's mounting accusations. We then get that shot of Hashwolf himself from chapter 661 as he readies his power. This was always an interesting panel in the manga as well, because Hashwolf seems to be conjuring shadowy energy behind him. Initially it just kind of looked like an artistic choice, but as the sequence played out, no, he does actually seem to be wielding and moving the shadows, only for nothing to come of it in the end. Here in the anime, we can see the darkness moving behind him too, shifting around behind him, so it's hard to know exactly what's going on. Is he supposed to be wielding a small portion of Ryo's power now that he has the Almighty, or is he just doing a Quincy thing and for some reason manipulating shadows? It would be kind of cool, though I don't know how feasible this is, if in a change from the manga, Hashwolf is actually enveloping both himself and Uryū in the shadows and taking their fight into the Shadow Realm. I don't know how feasible that is, like I just said, I don't know what the logistics are behind that, but then bazz-b, Lil Toto and Giselle did use the shadows to move through Varvelt, so there must still be a shadowy dimension. The Schattenbereich must still be there in some capacity for them to use, so I mean, this is just me going off on a crazy tangent, but that would be quite a cool change, I think, for Hashwolf to drag them both into the darkness to create a really cool, unique arena for their battle. Another interesting point is the way this shot plays out, the way it's framed. It looks very similar here in the anime to how Hashwolf was readying his power against Kyoraku and Nanao in Core 2, albeit under totally different circumstances. We then get the close-up shot of a character's mouth, which again I think is likely Ichigo shouting at Uryū from chapter 660, before we get a shot of Uryū himself standing against the darkness. Now this is an interesting shot in that I'm not sure where to place it, and to be honest, this might actually be the shot, as I mentioned earlier, that is the furthest into the manga, but I'm unsure. In the manga, Uryū is wearing his cloak throughout this entire encounter. We only see it's been removed after we later return to his battle with Hashwolf sometime down the line. And so while he has clearly lost his cloak a little bit early here, we can see from the next shot where he's wielding his bow, which I think takes place before this moment, that he doesn't have it on there either. So he likely removes his cloak in a new sequence before taking on Ichigo. However, the background and the lighting of this particular shot looks different from the room with the portal in it. And the light filtering in from above makes me think they've already gone through the floor at this point. Really then, this could be any shot of Uryū from chapter 660 when he's talking to Ichigo and the others on the floor below, or when he's preparing to face off with Hashwolf himself later in the following chapter. If I had to guess right now, I'd say I think it actually is this shot of Uryū here preparing to draw his bow against Hashwolf, making this the shot that's the furthest into the manga so far, or a shot associated with that moment. It's kind of crazy to me to think we're already at Uryū versus Hashwolf, though I did suspect previously that they were moving friend in order to coincide it more directly with Uryū's reveal. This next shot is another very interesting one. Uryū, again with the red portal behind him, is wielding his bow. This comes from a shot in chapter 660 during his brief skirmish with Ichigo, as he draws Sail Schneider for the first time, I think, since the Rankar arc, and uses it to blast a hole in the ground beneath Ichigo's feet, sending him and his friends plummeting to the floor below. However, what's really interesting about this shot, though, is the fact that Uryū's Volsten dish is currently active, meaning he likely activates at least the basic version of it to battle Ichigo here. Again, him using Volsten dish is of course totally new, and he likely deactivates it the moment they find themselves on the floor below and, as far as he's aware, out of Hashwolf's gaze. But still, it's a reminder that his fight with Hashwolf is likely to be quite different here in the anime, and I'm all for it. And of course, the final shot is, as already discussed, Hashwolf revealing to Uryū that he's already foreseen his answer from just before Uryū half-heartedly takes on Ichigo once more. So that's the teaser broken down and analysed completely. Interestingly, we're sticking very close to the manga here, it seems, outside of a few more superfluous changes here and there. At least for now, it doesn't look like Ichigo and Uryū will have another true battle that is anime exclusive, unless that plays out before Hashwolf arrives. However, in the first shot, you can see a huge hole in the wall behind them, implying, at least to me anyway, the characters all come together in the same way as they do in the manga. Moving on from the teaser itself, an official synopsis for the two-part finale was released on the anime's website, and this translation comes to me courtesy of Arturo Plateado on Reddit, so thank you very much for that. The synopsis reads, Shinigami and Quincy, Ichigo and Uryū, resolve and pride. The story progresses beyond the separation to the end of the conflict. After he had pierced through Renji, Uryū returns to the Varvelt. Hashwolf walked in and greeted him there, but there was something about him that seemed different. Meanwhile, the Shinigami, believing in the escape route opened up by Kyoraku, hurry towards the main palace of Varvelt, but their path is blocked by Gerard Valkyrie. Gerard is at a disadvantage in the face of the captain ranks of the Gotei 13's onslaught of repeated attacks, but his expression remains composed, as he says miracles only occur in times of crisis. Elsewhere, Ichigo, Orihime and Chad's group are driven into a corner by Askin Naklavar, who uses his ability to make Reishi poisonous, but they are rescued by Yoruichi Shihoin. Ichigo runs off and leaves her to handle the battle against Askin. Everything is starting to connect. After getting through the fierce life or death battle and making it through to the other side, what is reflected in Ichigo's eyes is So, right there, it kind of sounds like we completely nailed it with the rest of our predictions from that last video. It does indeed look like the final two Schutzstaffel battles featuring Gerard and Askin are going to be set up within these two upcoming episodes, meaning the scene shown in the teaser is likely to be, I think, right at the end of the finale. I'll be interested, of course, to see just how these two episodes play out. Will anything be shifted around to get us to the conclusion in time? Because there's not a huge amount of time to play around with, and I'd have thought the Askin setup in particular, as it does involve Ichigo, Orihime and Chad, might take a while to get through in order to get Ichigo and the others to Uryū by the end of this core. And not only are they going to get to Uryū, but the teaser shows that the core is actually going to go beyond that and actually end a little further ahead than even that moment. I did speculate in my predictions video if maybe the entire Uryū sequence might be moved from this core to the next core in order to free up some time there, but I guess we'll see. But it's cool. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the setup for all of these fights. I don't think there's really time here for another brand new fight, one that doesn't exist in the manga at all, though I mean, I'd love to be wrong. Instead, I really do think episodes 39 and 40 are basically going to be setting up Core 4 and the events and fights to come. In that sense, as with the other two-part finales before, it will work naturally as a two-parter, which is what they seem to normally try and achieve. I'm very excited and curious to see Gerard's fight, which as I mentioned I think will be the bulk of episode 39, while the Askin fight might be episode 40. I speculated in my predictions video again that we could get a new fight scene, showing us the captains beating Gerard up before he activates his shrift, and to be honest, this synopsis kind of reinforces that idea to me. I'm not sure about Askin's fight. I'm still expecting it to open with Ichigo lying defeated on the ground, to be honest, but I mean, I'm not sure. And so that brings me to the final point of this video. Where will Core 3 end next week? Now, we have a much clearer idea than before, and I actually think the teaser trailer might give us the answer. It makes sense to me that, since we are going to reveal Uryū's true nature in this core after all, that the core ends with the impending clash between Uryū and Hashwolf. In chapter 661, Uryū and Hashwolf prepare to fight after Ichigo and the others have left, with Uryū lifting his bow and Hashwolf readying his sword. I mean, that feels like the perfect place to end off, to be honest. Maybe with one last shot of Ichigo, Orihime and Chad ascending into the final section of the palace itself. The crazy thing about chapter 661 is that this is the final chapter Chad is in before the epilogue. I mean, how insane is that? That actually makes me think that maybe the statues thing might not happen after all, as that would mean Chad is barely in Core 4 whatsoever. Like, he would be in maybe a couple of scenes. Unless they change his story considerably, which I kind of hope they do. Historically, this is where the Varvelt arc does begin to get quite messy and does begin to go off the rails somewhat in the manga, so I'm really looking forward to seeing if and how they might tidy it all up. Alright guys, but that's it for this fairly brief video looking at the teaser revealed for the finale to the 1000 Year Blood War Arc Part 3, episodes 39 and 40, dropping on December 28th. Of course, I'll have reactions and reviews for you, and I'm also still working on the review for episode 38 too, so stay tuned for that at some point, probably just after Christmas. I don't know exactly when, I can't really commit to a date, but it is coming soon. As always, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something of value away from it as well. Do let me know down in the comments, how excited are you for the finale to the 1000 Year Blood War Arc Part 3? What are you looking forward to seeing the most? Where do you think the core might end? And is there anything I missed in this teaser trailer, the images shown, anything like that? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts down in the comments below. And I want to end this video by wishing you all a very Merry Christmas if you do indeed celebrate it. If not, I hope you just have a wonderful this time of year, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Let's end the video as we always do by saying a massive thank you and giving a huge shout out to my wonderful supporters over on Patreon. I really do appreciate each and every one of you so very much. If you like what I do here over on YouTube and you want to take the support from me another step further, thank you. At the $1 tier a month, you can get your name in the credits of every video like this, and at the $2 tier or higher, you can enjoy every single one of my videos absolutely ad-free. Alright guys, once again, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.